We're very happy to have with us this afternoon former Commissioner of the Comelec, Gregorio Larrazabal. It's nice to have you here. Thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.
Looking at the elections now from your perspective, you were a field officer.
Yes,
you were also a head of all of the people on the ground before you became commissioner. What are your thoughts as we move into election day?
What's important now is Comelec ties up the loose ends. There are some concerns now which we raised to Comelec, and it's good that they have resolved some of the issues we raised. And right now we have basically 2 days left.
Yes.
Actually 1 day, because Sundays, that's a given, nobody works anymore.
So not even Comelec?
They're supposed to. In
Yeah.
2010, we didn't sleep anymore. We practically live in the office.
Yes.
But Saturday is the last day, because if you have something to do on Sunday, there's not enough time anymore to disseminate information or give out instructions, because everybody's already
on the ground,
ready for the elections on Monday.
Yes, yes. Now, in terms of preparation, is Comelec ready at this point? Today's Saturday.
They say they're ready.
Yes.
For
Do
us,
you think they're ready?
I think they have to address some concerns.
Okay. And what are those concerns?
Well, right now we asked for some technical data, the MAC addresses of the machines, the IP addresses. We need the server logs, etc. Technical, but until now they haven't given it to us. They just released a resolution yesterday regarding the rule on replacement of ballots. We raised that up April 13 yet. They just released it yesterday. The point there is they have to disseminate that information to the people on the ground.
Okay.
The trainings of the BIs, last-minute trainings, they have to include that. I'm not so sure they can do that, but they have to try.
How do they get to their BEIs at this late date if there are rulings that Comelec announces? How do they get to them?
It's difficult. It's difficult. For example, the most common method of disseminating information now is through the traditional media and social media. However, there are areas where not everybody watches the news. Not everybody is on the web. Not everybody tunes into what's on Facebook or Twitter.
Internet.
Yeah, not everybody does that. But these people are part of the electoral process. The BIs, the teachers,
yes,
and the volunteers and the watchers. These people have to be aware of the new rules, because if there's a discrepancy or there's a disinformation or lack of dissemination of information, what will happen is that it will cause confusion, and with that tight race now, you're sure the tempers will fly.
Yes.
And that will cause problems. Because in 2010, we noticed that after the elections was done, there were some complaints of harassment of BIs. Not by armed individuals, not by goons or armed groups, but by voters because of the long lines, etc. You expect the same thing now. We're hoping it won't, but you expect the same thing now, that people will complain. And the BIs have to be informed of the rules, so they will be able to answer it correctly and uniformly.
I remember in the past elections, one of the major problems was getting the machines or even getting the ballots to the places, to the polling precincts on time.
Yes.
Has that been addressed, and is that in place?
We're conducting the 3rd automated elections now.
Yes.
So that should not be a problem anymore. There are some, I've seen some reports of some delivery of machines even until now, some contingency machines, backup machines, even here in Pasig. But the problem there is that the citizens' arm was not informed, PPCRV. So,
well, PPCRV has been complaining that Comelec has not coordinated with them enough for them to participate.
Well, the trust before, even when I was a field official, is our rule was that whatever the citizen arm wants, give it to them, because they are helping us do our job better.
Okay, so is PPCRV in very close coordination with Comelec at this time?
I hope so, because I think they...
Do you know so?
I hope so, because they raised some concerns that they're not being given information, and that's not a good sign.
Okay.
Because if they're complaining that they haven't received enough information to coordinate or to monitor the delivery, deployment, and storage of machines and other paraphernalia, then that's a concern that has to be addressed.
Goyo, do all of the precincts have a backup machine?
No. The rule is that there has to be at least one backup machine per municipality and or city. Some big cities will have more backup machines. There's only about, I think, 5,000 machines as backup, and you cannot distribute that to all the voting centers. But you can use machines from the neighboring precinct after the end of voting. Then you feed the ballots into the machine. There's a protocol for that. But you have to wait for that precinct
to finish.
Yes.
I see. So if there are no machines, or if a machine malfunctions in one precinct, you can still continue with the voting?
Yes. But instead of feeding the ballot into the machine, you feed the ballot into the ballot box. At the end of the voting, once a new machine is brought in, you do the initialization procedures, then you feed the BI feeds the ballots into the machine by themselves.
Okay. One of the biggest issues in the past elections were the source codes. I remember that there was a lot of talk about that. That has been settled.
There was a source code review now. In fact, this is the only time I can recall that there was a public review of the source code. 2010, there wasn't. I have to emphasize that we offered a source code review in 2010, but there were no takers. Even after the elections, after I think 6 months, we kept the facilities open. Nobody wanted because the election's done. I'm happy that they offered a source code review now. There are some concerns. There were some issues raised. But let's delve on the positive, which is at least Comelec conducted a public source code review.
Okay. So, first step off, the machines are in place, the ballots have been delivered.
Yes.
And the first phase of this election is in place.
Yes.
Can you say that with certainty?
So the ballots are delivered to the different municipal treasurer's office. The machines are in the various various polling places, and that's it, right? Yes.
The BEI training has been completed.
The BEI training has been completed, but I am not so sure on the quality of the training.
Okay. What about stories that these some BEIs and some teachers are reluctant to serve because of the dangerous nature of some of the precincts that they're assigned to?
That has happened in the past, especially manual elections, in which specifically hotspots are areas where the teachers do not want to serve for obvious reasons. However, we noticed also in the past that there are some areas where the teachers were specifically targeted so they will not serve. And when they do not serve, the replacement BIs come in. In some cases, I'm not saying all, but in some cases, they tend to favor one or another candidate. And that's the scenario building. They did it specifically so the teachers will be afraid, so they won't serve, and somebody takes over.
So what safeguards are in place so that these teachers are, not reluctant to serve, because it is a big sacrifice on their part to be able to be poll watchers and to be able to be administrators of the elections?
The most important thing is their security has to be taken care of. What does this mean? There has to be adequate PNP and AFP personnel, not within the area, but within distance. So if there's a problem, they can immediately assist
within support distance.
Yes.
Okay.
In some cases, especially in far-flung areas, you can't because there are some areas where it takes about a day or two to walk to the polling place.
Yes.
There are some you have to take a motorized bangka to go to the island barangay.
Yes.
In some, it's a war-torn area, specifically in some areas in Mindanao, where teachers, being on the safe side, prefer not to serve because of their safety.
What happens then?
Well, then the Comelec appoints a substitute BI. In some cases, they appoint members of the PNP or PNP reserves who act as the BI for that particular precinct. The problem with it is, have those replacement BIs or PNP personnel, have they been trained? It's automated elections.
Okay. At this point in time, would they have been able to tell that there are areas like this, and would they have been able to address the situation before Monday?
Um,
Or does that just happen on Monday?
no, right now, basically what I would do before, if I were assigned to a particular area, even as a field official, I would look at the statistical data for previous elections.
Yes.
Chances are, if there was a problem in this precinct in 2 successive elections, there's going to be a problem in the next election.
Yes.
So I use that as historical data as basis, and I look at the current political infighting or the political situation,
The landscape.
the political landscape. If it's a hotly contested race for for a particular position, if it is, then you look at the bailiwicks of the 2 or 3 or 4 candidates. So chances are, if the bailiwick of one candidate, the other candidate will try to disrupt the proceedings in the precincts of that bailiwick. So you just have to try to anticipate their moves.
So what do you do in case you're a small contingent compared to the armies and compared to the supporters of an area that you're trying to control?
Yes. However, what you do is you maximize the resources. For example, you have a battalion or you have a company of soldiers. You maximize and allocate them in places where you think there will be problems.
Is there always enough in terms of support?
There is backup. There's backup, and there's a way naman to make sure that there will be support that will be brought in. However, if a army or PNP contingent or battalion or whatever is sent to an area, they still have to get authority from Comelec before being deployed. If they don't, that's illegal.
Aha. Okay, in that case, can Comelec give the authority right
yes,
away, or there's
yes.
a lag time?
Yes, they have to, and that's why they have to act fast. Speed is key here. With technology now, you just call the field official, or the field official calls a commissioner or a senior staff. Within 5 minutes, you have to have action. You can easily, if you call me, in a minute or 2, I can call the company commander or the regional director, have sent to that particular province or particular city or municipality. That's it. You don't have to wait. You don't have to draft the report. No, you just call.
Just call. Okay. The other issue that plagues our elections is missing precincts, cannot find your name, don't know where your precincts are. How has Comelec addressed that?
Well, the website is up already. I'm not so sure if it's fully functioning. I'm not. I think it is, but as of the past, I think Tuesday, it was not yet full. The precinct finder was not yet. But there have been some media organizations that have provided a precinct finder.
Yes.
My suggestion is voters can, normally when you vote in one polling place, in one elections, the next elections you're going to vote in the same place. Yes. You're not going to be moved unless, of course, that building is burnt or there's a flood and destroys everything. So you're going to vote in the same polling place, in the same room of that polling place, with the same BI. Chances are, when you go there, your name's going to be in the list, outside the room. If it's not outside the room, check with the list inside, the EDCVL. Because the posted CVL on the door, it has happened in many instances where people replace that list with a bogus list.
Okay.
So if you go to the precinct,
and you
say,
don't find your name?
Where's my name? It's not here it's not in the list. It's not. I'll go home now. It's hot. I want.
Yes.
But your list is actually inside. Because
the real list.
The real list. Because there's a posted CVL and there's an election day CVL. The election day CVL is the one that has your face.
CVL stands for?
Computerized Voters List.
Okay.
That list inside the EDCVL is what controls and what determines whether or not you can vote or not in that precinct. If you're not in the EDCVL, even if you're outside, you cannot vote. But if you're not outside the outside list, but you're inside, you can vote. So that's why.
So that's nice to know that the list outside does not necessarily mean that your name is not there if it's not outside on that list. Okay.
But many people don't understand this. They don't know this. So
yes. Okay. Well, I didn't know that. I thought that matched the one inside.
That's why it's important, because the printing of the posted CVL is done in the field, and the printing of the EDCVL is done by central office.
Okay. Now with the hacking of the Comelec website, where all of the voters' names and their particulars were exposed, how does that impact on the CVL list now and all of the registration data that has gone wild?
it will not affect the list inside the precinct. Excuse me. The EDCVL, it won't, because the EDCVL was printed by the main office using their database. So you can't anymore alter that. That's it. That's final. You can't anymore fix that. You can't anymore manipulate that. That's it. The problem here, it might be used by some unscrupulous individuals to create confusion. But again, if we focus on the basics, go to the polling place where you voted in previous election, go to the classroom where you voted, look for the list outside. If you're not outside, go inside and have the BI check if your name is in the EDCVL. That's the basics.
Okay.
Focus on the basics, you'll be okay.
Okay, Goyo. Now let's go to what everybody is thinking about. Cheating.
Yes.
With the new machines, with the new technology that Comelec has employed, can cheating happen?
There are several types of cheating. For example, vote buying is still cheating.
Okay.
Utilization of a person other than the voter and allowing it to vote is still cheating. Feeding multiple ballots by one person is still cheating, but that doesn't have anything to do with the software or the hardware being used in this election. But that's still cheating. But that deals with the process.
Let's see now. Okay, how do you overcome those methods of cheating? For example, if I'm not who I am and I vote in place of somebody else, can't they tell?
You can, but you can, and that's the duty of the watchers. The watchers of the different political parties and candidates have to be aware. Normally, the rule is that you get a watcher who is a registered voter in that particular barangay or precinct. So he is familiar with the names of the identities of the voters. If I go in and I say, I'm Jose Rizal, can I vote? If the watcher does not contest that and the BI lets me vote, then there's something wrong already there. So the BI has to be aware, because there's a picture of the voter in the EDCBL.
Yes.
It's a bit grainy, it's black and white, it's a bit grainy, but you have an idea, like, I can't say.
Do they necessarily match your face to the person appearing before the BEI?
Because the biometrics was mandated, and that started, I think, 2003. So 10 years won't matter that much, right? So if I go there and say,
but they check.
They check. You have kasi the biometrics and the demographics, like for example the birthday, etc. It's there. So I can't go there and say I'm Jose Rizal, Jose Rizal is a 89-year-old person. So I can't.
And you're a 22-year-old, yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Fine. I like that.
Okay. Feeding multiple ballots. Who can do that?
Individuals who want to cheat.
Like, for example, I will bring my own ballots, my own...
No. For example, the ballot have been allocated, right?
Yes.
But for example, the BI, while running the elections, armed men enter the precinct and says, points a gun at the BI, says, give me the ballots. The BI, I wouldn't tell them to oppose, because that's their life.
Yes.
So the armed man gets the ballots, fills up all the ballots, feeds it to the machine by himself. The BI cannot do anything, because obviously there's an armed threat against them.
Yeah.
But that's cheating right there, because the one person is feeding multiple ballots.
Has it happened?
I think in some cases it has, and there have been audit logs that were shown to me, and I can tell that there's something wrong with the process, because I can look at the audit, because the audit log is basically the audit of what happened throughout the whole process in that precinct. I look at the audit log, I can tell you there's something wrong here, here. So I can tell you why. I can probably give you an idea why there's something wrong there, and I'll tell you what caused that. And if I talk to the BAI, that they will confirm.
Okay.
There's a way to do it.
All right, go ahead. Continue.
But the problem here is, like, it's a bit technical and it's tedious. And some people, pagod na yan, hayaan mo na yan, di ba? Let them.
Yeah. Okay, but when you compare to the manual system, which we did for years and years, cheating was more rampant then than now. Is that a fair statement to make?
Well,
I mean, it was easier then.
Well, automated elections eliminated some forms of cheating, but it increased the number of incidents of vote buying. As in, really, it
Okay.
just blew up. Vote buying now, it's just crazy.
All right, but having said that, it increased the ability to, or the necessity to buy votes. The secrecy of the ballot. If I feed in my own ballot, who can tell who I voted for?
There's a way.
There's a way.
There's a way, but again, especially in some areas in the Philippines, up north, even Central Visayas, depends. Even areas that you wouldn't think that they do that, but there is a way to verify, and there is a way to check if there is collusion with the people inside the precinct.
Would you like to talk about that, or is that something that you'd like to
it's
keep?
okay. It's okay, but the problem with it is we don't want to give them ideas of how to do it. Yes,
but it can be done.
It can be done.
Because in the past, we always hear about, you have to bring in a carbon paper to write who you voted for, so you have proof.
And you don't even have to bring a carbon paper. You just bring in a
cell phone.
No, before you for manual, for manual or automated.
For manual or for automated now.
For manual,
bring in a cell phone, so I can take a picture of who I
bawal
voted
yan.
for.
That's prohibited. However, if
no cell phones allowed.
No picture taking of the ballot. However, if you're not stopped, then you can still take a picture, right?
I see. Okay.
So
here's for you. That's for you.
So
yeah,
you can still do that. There are other ways, but you can even in manual. You had a cadena de amor.
What is that?
Basically, what happened in manual.
You pass on the.
Yeah. So what I do is I buy your vote.
Yeah.
But I'd give you a ballot. So that's filled up already. When you go inside the precinct, you fill up. You give the ballot you drop in the ballot
and
box.
And then you bring out the other ballot, but it has a number.
Oh, but who checks?
Doesn't the BEI check the number?
No, because after you fill up the ballot, you feed the ballot into the ballot box without showing the ballot to the BI.
But don't they tear out a piece of paper at the top of the ballot? I mean, we're going back to the manual system, right? Don't they tear out a piece of the ballot?
There's a way around that. There's a way around. I mean, saying there are ways. But
I'm sure. I mean, you know.
But vigilance. I don't want to sound
like a broken record, but go ahead.
But vigilance is key. As long as the watchers are aware, they know what to look out for, they will at least minimize incidents of cheating. The problem with some watchers is they don't know what to watch out for. They don't know what to look out for. They don't know what they should focus on. They just look at the voter. Okay, pumasok. Okay, then after that, they end up chatting with other watchers.
Yes, because it's a long day.
It's a long day.
It's a very long day. So back to the automated system. You're telling me that there are ways to cheat. Have we perfected it? Because in the manual system, they just about perfected the cheating way, the way to cheat.
No, because, like for example, if you use an authorized software now in the automated system, there's a way to check if it's an authorized software, it's an illegal software, fake software. If you check on the hash code is basically the signature of the software that's authorized to be used in this election.
Yes.
Not a lot of people check the hash code. That's in the initial.
Who is supposed to check the hash code?
Dapat the BI and the watchers. That's in the initialization report and at the start and the election return at the end. However, we pointed this out to Comelec that hey, you don't have the procedure and protocol on verifying the hash code. You don't even have the proper steps to question or what will be done if the hash code is not accurate. So do you replace the SD card or do you stop voting or they have to come out with that. But in the meantime, what we did is the letter we sent to Comelec, I posted it on social media. So what people are doing now are pretty ingenious. They're showing that letter to the BIs saying, oh, ito yung hash code pakitingin sa election return. Kasi there's a final testing and sealing now. So there's
as we speak.
Yes, as we speak. Today's the last day. Yeah, we're 6, right? No, yesterday was the last day. 6 was the last day.
Okay.
So what they're doing now is they show the letter with the hash code in the letter. Then they ask to look at the election return of the final testing and sealing. Then they compare, and it's the same. So now that's what we're trying to do is we're trying to help empower people. we're trying to show people that these are things that you can do to make sure that it's the right software being used for the elections.
So an ordinary voter like myself, I can go to my precinct and ask them, what's your hash code?
You can, well, if the voting is already started, you can ask to look at the initialization report. The initialization report is basically it's a zero report saying that there's 0 votes in the system, etc. Ask them, can I look at the initialization report? Then they show it to you. Look at the bottom. Then, tama ba? If you have a list there, you have the paper. Tama? Okay. So you're using the right software.
I see. Okay.
And there's only one hash code for all machines all over the Philippines.
I see. Okay. And if it's the wrong hash code, it means it's unauthorized.
It's fake.
It's fake.
Yeah.
Has that happened?
No, because no one really verified that. That's the problem we had in 2013.
What do we know? It has never been.
No, because
no machine was using an unauthorized.
Because people weren't
software.
Really checking. We were.
If they checked, would it have passed?
I think so, but the problem with it is they didn't check. There were a lot of complaints that there was an illegal count here or there, but they didn't. We told them what to do: check the hash code, check the audit log. They didn't do that, so.
Okay.
It was.
All
so
right.
I'm hoping that people, and it's good that people are more vigilant now. Yes. They know what to look for.
Okay. During the elections, can you cheat? During the elections?
Vote buying is cheating.
No, I mean before you enter the precinct.
Well, again.
I'm sorry. When inside the precinct.
Depends. Thinking, but that has basically to do with the procedure, meaning. If the BI disallows a voter to vote, that's cheating. If a BI allows a person who's not a registered voter to cast his vote or her vote for a person who's a registered voter, then that's cheating. If the BI prevents the ballot from being fed into the machine for one reason or another, that's cheating. If the voter is intimidated by an individual, either armed or causes the voter to vote not in accordance to what he wants, how he wants to vote, that's cheating. But this has to do with procedures. Manual or automated, it's the same thing.
Okay. Post-election, can you cheat?
Thinking. Well.
I mean, once the votes have already been, you feed your own ballot, right? Am I correct in my understanding?
Yes.
You feed your own ballot and
yes.
you get a receipt which confirms the votes that you cast.
Okay, there's a rule now.
Yeah.
Forgot the basically for the precincts for PWDs, in which if you're a PWD or senior citizen, if I'm not mistaken, the ballot will be brought from the precinct to you. Like for example, it's a 3rd floor, it will be brought down to the 1st floor, you fill out the ballot, and the support staff brings it back upstairs.
Yeah.
So what happens is, what if that support staff makes some changes in your ballot? That's cheating.
Yes.
But going back to your question regarding...
You still... Oh, okay. There's no way for you to check because you're on the 1st floor.
Yes.
The precinct's on the 3rd floor, and the receipt cannot be taken out of the precinct,
It cannot
right?
be. Bawal yun. That's
okay.
Election paraphernalia.
Yeah.
But after elections, there was a provision in Comelec Resolution 10103, which was passed last week, saying that, kasi the rule is that the VCMs transmit the data to the Municipal Board of Canvassers. The Municipal Board of Canvassers collate all the data, but the rule before was that if a precinct cannot transmit the data, then they manually upload the card into the system. Now, you have to manually upload everything. Whether transmitted or not, you have to upload it. The new rule, which was added just last week, says that you cannot transmit to the Provincial Board of Canvassers until you upload all the SD cards. We asked that it be revised.
That you can do it piecemeal.
Yeah, that kasi if you
have to wait.
If you upload all the SD cards before you transmit the results, can you imagine the delay? That's going to be crazy delay.
Oh, are delays windows of opportunity for cheating?
when you say kasi opportunities for cheating, it's not only the actual cheating, but the perception of cheating.
The perception
How
of
do
cheating.
you explain to people that you already have all the results, but you cannot transmit the data because wala ka pang uploaded na SD card?
Okay, so what's the Comelec ruling?
They reversed it. So writing to Comelec actually works.
Helps, huh?
It helps, and being kulit and being persistent helps.
Okay.
So
and having worked in Comelec helps.
yes, because I work with a team who used to be part of Comelec. That we live and eat, sleep, elections.
Yeah. Yes.
So we know our elections.
Yes.
So they revised it and they announced it. I haven't yet received the resolution, but they revised it saying that even if all the SD cards have not yet been uploaded, you can transmit as long as you have 100% of the data in that municipality.
Okay.
So that's
Alright.
good because that eliminates one threat of delay and possibility of the perception of manipulation.
Okay. When can you tell who won? At
Um,
what point in the election process can you say, okay, this guy has won, this person has won?
In 2010, we announced, well, Chairman Melo at that time, I was beside him.
Yeah.
We gave him the results. We announced the results of about 87% of the results for president and vice president in less than 12 hours.
Wow.
89.
Record. That's a
Yeah,
record.
but that's unofficial. That was an unofficial. So we did not proclaim the senatorials kasi
But, okay, I have a question about an official announcement and an unofficial announcement. When you say X has won, that creates expectations and that opens the window of doubt if you change it.
Exactly. But what happens is that it's a confidence building measure that prevents the possibility of the commission of fraud. Because if you know already, even if it's an official count, if you know, and the source of that data is the same, it's still from the VCM that sends the data to the central server, the transparency server, and the municipal or city board of canvassers. If this is one data sends to 3 different servers, why is there a difference in the results of that particular precinct? There might be a difference or variance if like 10 precincts cannot send to all 3. Diba? Kasi for example, one precinct sends to one server but doesn't send to the other, so there's a variance.
Yes.
But the results of one precinct has to be the same for everything.
Okay.
Diba?
When does unofficial become official?
It only becomes official when the provincial board for senators or
For the presidency,
Okay.
vice presidency.
okay,
and
for
the
presidency
senators.
and vice presidency, it only becomes official when the National Board of Canvassers, composed of members of both houses of Congress, canvass the votes from the different certificate of canvass of the different provinces and HUC and independent cities all over the Philippines. Like for example, the province of Cebu, the certificate of canvass of votes for the province of Cebu is transmitted and manually transported to Manila.
Manually transported.
Opo, because you have to bring the CD, you have to bring the paper, the paper reports, the certificate of canvass certificate of canvass. So they have to bring that because that's under the law. You still need that.
Yeah.
So for the presidential, for the National Board of Canvassers for president and vice president, but for the senators and party list, it's Congress. It's Comelec acting as the NBOC at the PICC.
Okay. Now, with the requirement to physically bring the CD, the papers, all of the supporting stuff, doesn't that, again, present a window of opportunity for revising results
No, because the data has already been sent to Manila.
ahead?
So okay na.
I see.
That's basically just a
Okay.
redundancy in the process.
I
Because
see.
what happens is that the basic law of election management in the Philippines is BP 881, the Omnibus Election Code, and there are several special laws, including the latest one is 9369. Sorry,
Yes, you're dizzying me with numbers.
Sorry.
Just give me the.
Okay.
Just give me the.
We have the basic Omnibus Election Code
Yeah.
and several special laws.
Yeah.
The basic election law in the Philippines is for manual elections.
Okay.
There is a disconnect because we're using automated elections now.
Uh-huh.
So there are some procedures that you don't need for automated elections, but you still have to do because it's mandated by law. So that's...
But the law has not been revised to keep
No.
up with the new technology?
No, that's why we're suggesting, hey, hopefully the next administration will come up with a revised omnibus election code that incorporates all the special laws for elections, and just so people can just refer to one law.
Yeah, they should.
Hopefully.
So
hopefully.
we're now coming up to 3 elections behind.
Yes. Yes.
Shameful.
But well, I hope they can do it. And,
Okay.
And I hope they can. There's a proposed omnibus election code. I think Comelec did it for Congress, but I don't know what happened.
All right. Okay. So post-election, when all of these results are coming in, there are safeguards in place.
Yes.
Now,
Yes.
do you feel fairly confident, or let me rephrase that? Do you feel confident that this election is going to be fair, square, and honest?
I'm confident on the field personnel of Comelec and organic personnel at the central office who know their elections. Okay. They've run elections so many times, and I was with them as part of the team in 2010. Proud to be part of the team in 2010, and they know their election laws. They just have to be utilized to the maximum.
I like what you said, Goyo, about proud to be a member of the team. What's the biggest challenge for Comelec at a time like this?
Credibility.
Why
2010 was because the way we ran elections in 2010, and I always say I represented thousands of Comelec officials all over the Philippines. I was the face, but a lot of people worked to make it successful. That's what I like to emphasize. It's not just one person, it's a whole organization. In 2010, there were some Comelec officials who were saying that was the only time when they would wear a Comelec shirt that people would that look at them funny. That was
look at them funny.
That was one of the times where people would say that their kids would actually be proud to say that their parents are working Comelec.
Yes.
And that's a big thing.
Okay.
That goes to show that people are proud of the work they did. Right. And we need that. Yeah. Because you need to be proud of what you're doing, because elections is not only about who's winning or who's losing. It's about determining the future of Philippine democracy. It's about making sure that the next 3 or 6 years will be stable.
Yes.
And this administration got a lot of political capital because of the way the elections was run in 2010. Sayang naman if you don't have the same amount of credibility given to the next administration because of problems.
Okay, that's great. And I think that's wonderful that you take pride in who you are as a Comelec official. But you do know that the Comelec has had its share of black spots.
Oh, yes.
And pretty incredible black spots.
Oh, yes. In fact, and that's always a challenge, because when you run elections, you don't you don't judge an organization based on the previous elections. Every elections is a revalidation of how good or bad you are. If you had a bad elections, it doesn't necessarily mean all elections thereafter will be bad. It doesn't necessarily mean that if you have a good elections, all elections after will be good. Each elections is an opportunity and a challenge to prove how good the organization is.
Yes, but you did have those rotten eggs
that
delivered votes in exchange for whatever price it took, and they were Comelec officials.
But it's not everyone who's... Not everyone. There's so many Comelec officials who, some risked their lives, some refused a lot of money.
Yes.
Because they value their job.
So what I'm saying, Goyo, is what safeguards have been put in place so that you don't have Comelec officials who trade on their positions for fixing elections?
I don't like to do motherhood statements or generalizations.
Yes, I know.
I don't.
So give me specifics.
But in this case, it's hard to do specifics. But the main thrust is you have to make sure they have pride in what they're doing. They are happy in their working environment. If you're
yes, go ahead.
We did that in 2010.
Okay, can that be said of Comelec today?
I hope so.
You hope so?
I hope so.
You don't know so?
I hope so.
Okay.
But I'm not in Comelec na kasi. I'm not in there anymore. So
Yes, yes.
I hope so.
But why do you have this continuing interest?
And that's a good question. That's a good question. When I left Comelec, I retired at age 39.
So that makes you 38 now.
37.
Okay.
37.
All right.
You don't stop caring for the organization for which you had pride in. Why should you stop caring for Philippine democracy? Why should you stop caring in making sure that we have good elections? Why should you stop caring for how the elections is run? Because that elections will determine what will happen in the next 3 or 6 years. Each one of us has to understand that caring about elections is not only the job of Comelec, it's a job of every voter, every citizen in the Philippines. Because if you have apathy towards elections, you don't have a right to complain of who's sitting in that office.
Okay.
By participating and making sure you're helping Comelec fix the problems, you're part of the solution, not part of the problem.
Okay. If looking forward to Monday, what are the 3 things you want voters to remember
Okay.
and the general public to think about as we go to the polls?
Okay. One is make sure you have your list of candidates you want to vote for. That's important. That's so basic. Bring a piece of paper and a pen, just in case. When you go to the precinct, for the voters, when you go to the precinct, when the ballot is given to you, make sure that the BI shows it to you and you don't receive it if there's a smudge or mark in the ballot, especially timing marks on the side and barcode at the bottom. So it's a clean ballot. When you fill up the ballot, make sure that you don't put any unnecessary smudges because it's a felt tip marker. Don't press too hard on the paper because it will pass through the paper at the bottom, di ba?
Yes.
So don't, just konti lang. Because it might smudge the bottom part, which might cast a vote for a candidate you don't want to vote for.
Okay.
Kasi both sides. Write the ballot ID on a piece of paper or your hand. So if you have a complaint or if when you feed the ballot and it's not accepted and you contest, or if you feed the ballot and the receipt does not say the name of the candidate you voted for and you want to complain, you have to bring it to the BI and have it recorded in minutes. You put the ballot ID, you write the ballot ID on the back of your receipt for reference purposes. Make sure when you go and vote, if you go early, voting starts at 6, ends at 5. If you go at 6, make sure that you bring a lot of patience because there's a lot of people lining up. If you don't want to vote, if you don't want to line up long, just make sure you vote 11 a.m. to 2 p.m.
Yeah.
because that's where not too many people vote.
Let's talk about the voter. You were giving us several tips about what they should watch out for during the elections.
What happens is that people go on and vote early in the morning, 6 o'clock, start the voting, and expect a long line there. But people don't realize this, but around 11 o'clock in the morning hanggang 2 o'clock in the afternoon, not too many people vote because it's lunchtime, people go home, they want to relax, it's so hot. So if you go to the precinct in that time, chances are that the lines would be shorter. It's going to be hotter, but it's going to be shorter. And there's not too many people there. So
11 to 2.
11 to 2. That's a lull time.
Okay.
Parang off-peak hours.
Yes.
So go there. Make sure you have your código, or list of vote of candidates you want to vote for. Before you go to the precinct, make sure that you know your precinct number, etc. So when you're in the polling place already, chances are you're going to be voting in the same classroom as you voted before. You go there, you check the list of voters posted on the wall. If you know that you registered there before but you're not in the list outside, please check with the BI inside. Chairman, please ask, Chairman, please verify I'm supposed to vote here. Please check my name. Okay. When you're already there, make sure that some people actually bring a felt tip marker.
Themselves?
Yes.
Is that allowed?
Comelec provides, but for some, they just want to be sure that they have, but not the thick one. No, just because you need the felt tip marker. Color black, not red, only black.
If it's another color, it will be invalid.
There might be a problem with reading it, especially red. So please black, not too thick. Anyway, so when they give you the ballot, please make sure that you verify. When the chairman gives you the ballot, let him hold it and say, check if there are markings on the ballot, if there are shades in the ovals, if there are smudges on the timing marks on the side of the ballot and in the barcode. If there are dirt, if those things are present, ask him not to give you that ballot, but give you another ballot.
Okay. They can replace ballots.
They can replace ballots. There are two types of replacement. One is when they're about to give it to you and you don't accept it because there's dirt or there's a problem with the ballot. And the second is after feeding the ballot, after filling out the ballot and feeding into the machine, it's rejected 4 times, you can request for a replacement of the ballot.
Okay.
But the rejection, you have to emphasize that the rejection of the ballot is not because of your fault.
It's the machine not taking it in?
For one reason or another, but we have to emphasize that after the printing of the ballots before at NPO, all ballots have to be fed into a counting machine at NPO before they're packed and sealed.
Okay.
So, what other people say that baka hindi ma-verify yung ballot, that's wrong because all ballots have been verified. But for one reason or another, if the ballot is not accepted by the machine and if it's not your fault, you can complain to the BI. When you complain to the BI, you have to tell them that it was rejected. Then the BI, by a majority vote, 2 out of 3, will then decide if they will give you a replacement ballot.
So it's up to the BEIs to decide that.
Yes.
It's not automatic. If you want a replacement,
Nope.
they will. It's not automatic.
It's not automatic.
Each ballot has a unique number unto itself.
Yes. What I would suggest, and that's a good, thanks for pointing it out. What others do is, especially if you think that you might, the possibility of contesting the results in the ballot.
Yes.
When they give you the ballot, you write the ballot ID number on your hand or on a piece of paper. What's the purpose of this? When you feed the ballot into the machine and it's accepted and the receipt is generated, cut by the third member, and it's given to you and you say, I voted for this guy, but bakit iba yung lumabas? Then, kasi the procedure is that you have to bring this to the BI and tell them, hey, I'm contesting this. And you have to write it in minutes of voting, and you have to sign at the back of the receipt. Right there, you don't have a way to verify or to match the receipt with the ballot.
Yes.
Right? So, by writing the ballot number at the back of the receipt, there is already an initial indicator of how you can trace the ballot to the receipt. Kasi when you're given the ballot, they have to write that naman in the EDCVL. Pero that will take time. But this one, if you write the ballot number at the back of the receipt, you can already say, if you contest the results, you can already say, oy, ballot number, blah, 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 blah.
And they can locate it.
They can locate it in the ballot box. So it makes things much easier.
Okay.
And it gives you a semblance of
security.
Security, hey, I contested and this is my ballot number. Kasi you have to leave the receipt in the precinct.
Yes.
You can't bring it out. So if you complain and when you go outside, you don't have any proof. You don't have any
except for that number on your palm. If
exactly.
You wrote it down.
So you can say now that, hey, I complained. It's in a minute of voting, and this is my ballot number.
And when you complain before you leave the precinct.
Yes. So after you when you get the receipt, you have to immediately go to the BI. Don't fight them, Don't fight them. Please don't fight the BI. Just say, Manong BI, Manong Chairman, or Manang Chairman, please, pakitingin naman to kasi may problema. Don't fight the BI. They're friends.
Yes.
Then
they're on your side.
Yes, they're on our side. Then have it written in the minutes of voting, sign at the back of this receipt, write your ballot number, and have the receipt stapled to the minutes of voting.
Okay. Now, can you complain after you have left the precinct?
But that's it.
No, you can't.
That one will probably be used if you have a protest case or if somebody has a protest case. We suggested to Comelec that there has to be a threshold. Because what if 20 people say that, uy, there's something wrong in my... If 20 people contest the results,
yes,
will you still use that machine? or would you request for a new machine? That's a problem there because there's no protocol. There's no, like, if
So
one...
if, for example, if that happens on Monday, let's say 20 people say something's wrong with that machine, it is spitting out a different list.
Of candidates.
Yeah, opposed to what I voted for.
And there's no protocol. You just have to keep on, they just keep on complaining and that's it. You can...
There's no protocol in terms of changing the machine?
There's none. I'm sorry, there's none. We asked them to come up with a protocol. They did not yet come out.
I see. Okay.
However, thinking how you can use that to contest the results of that whole election in that whole precinct, but it's very tedious. That's going to be hard.
Okay. So once you've left the precinct, you have no more opportunities to file a complaint.
No more.
That's it.
That's it.
All right. So you go home. Now we're still following the citizen voter. What does he do next?
Okay. By the way, before frivolous complaints are prohibited. However,
What's a frivolous complaint?
Without basis, which
It's too hot here.
it's too hot. There's some parang if you
Something's wrong with your pen.
Yeah. So, but that's a gray area, which in the resolution of Comelec, 4 did not vote for that provision. So I don't know how they're gonna handle it. So
Okay.
I'll leave it to that. But I had to mention it because that was in the resolution. Now, when you go home, oh, by the way, if you go in the precinct, kasi the end of voting is 5 p.m. I expect a lot of precincts in Metro Manila or urban centers to have voting after 5 o'clock.
Okay, there is a rule there, right?
There is a rule, but if you are within a certain, I think it's 30 meters
From the precinct.
From the precinct,
Yeah.
15 minutes before the end, the third member goes out and calls whoever is there and lists down their name. So they can still vote after 5 p.m. I think in some areas you will expect voting to last until 11 p.m.
Wow.
because you have a lot of voters who might vote late. But that can be mga 7 p.m. or 8 p.m. Depends how things go. But expect some delays. But that's an urban center. So, but that's okay because if it's an urban center, you assume that there's going to be electricity, there's going to be a lot of people, there's going to be security. The provinces or rural areas, like for example in Danan Sulu or for example in Katarman Samar or in the island barangays, the voting will most probably end by 5 p.m. because the precincts in that areas are less than 300. So by 3...
You're talking about the urban centers.
Yeah, the urban centers will have a lot of precincts, clustered precincts that will end voting well after 5
So
p.m.
you're trying to say, Goyo, that they will be in line before 5?
Yes.
And to process them will take until 11 p.m.?
Maybe. What if 300 people vote? Then, you know.
Wow.
But
okay. Do we have a tendency to go at the last minute?
Yes.
That's why you're saying go early.
Go early. People have a tendency to vote last minute.
Yes.
They don't want to vote early because there's going to be a long line. They don't want to vote lunchtime because it's going to be hot. They want to vote around 4 o'clock in the afternoon because it's not hot anymore. There's going to be a nice cool breeze.
There's lots of people.
There's
But
lots of
it is a holiday. Monday is a holiday.
It's a holiday, and siguro others will wake up late because they went out Sunday night. But there's a liquor ban starting midnight tonight, so you can't drink liquor outside your house starting 12 o'clock midnight later.
Okay.
But you can drink at home, so it's
You
okay.
can drink at home.
You can drink at home. Just
All
don't
right.
go outside drunk.
Okay, what happens to you? What are the penalties for being found drunk?
Well, if you're drinking in a public place,
You're talking about public
public place.
places, yes.
Well, that's an election offense, and that you can be hauled off to jail. And it has happened. The PNP usually goes around, checks on public restaurants, bars.
And,
The only
beer
places,
gardens.
the only places that can sell liquor are places that applied for exemption from Comelec, and specifically restaurants that cater to foreign tourists.
So hotels
Hotels
are
and
exempted.
They should have asked for exemption to
I
sell
see.
liquor.
Okay, but if the clients of the hotel move out of the hotel and are found drunk, they're liable.
Well, if they're holding a beer in their hand, in hand, and They can be. But
Okay.
I'm sure mabait na mga policemen.
Okay. What happens? All right, you go home, you've cast your vote. Most people think that's the end of the voting process. Is it?
Nope. It's at that point after the end of the voting, they shut down they do end of voting procedures wherein which you start generating election returns. You print out 8 copies of election returns, then after which you transmit the results to the municipal or city board of canvassers, the central server, and the transparency server. What happens now is that after the transmission, you then print out additional election returns for the major political parties, etc.
Okay, there's no break.
There's no break.
It goes right through.
Goes right through. It has to continue. If you are able to transmit, or if you're not able to transmit, after printing out all election returns, you have to physically transport the SD card to the municipal or city board of canvassers.
How far is that from your precinct usually?
Depende. Kasi sometimes if you're in the bayan, that's like here. Like for example, if we're here, probably City Hall is like 20 minutes away.
Okay.
But if you're in the province, there are barangays where you have to walk for 2 days.
So these are opportunities again for snatching of the SD card?
Yes. The opportunity for fraud here, or hijacking of the proclamation, was that the rule before last week, no, which we contested and they revised. The rule before was that you cannot transmit to the next level of canvassing until you've uploaded all the SD cards, main SD cards, into the canvassing system for the municipal or city board of canvassers. They scrapped that. So now you can transmit the results even while uploading basta you have 100% of all the results, even if you haven't uploaded the data manually, if you have the results 100%, you can transmit to the next. So you don't stop the proclamation of winning candidates.
Okay, all right.
So that's good.
All right. Okay, so what can the voter do in terms of, now you're transmitting results, right?
Yes.
That's where we're going. You're transmitting results, the voter just waits.
The voter just waits, or if not, you can go online.
Yeah.
You can go online. Comelec has a website, pili-pinas2016.com. If I'm not mistaken, that's the website. You can check the results. That should be real time there. As soon as it's sent to the server, central server sends it up to the website. You can check the results per precinct, if I'm not mistaken, if they made the changes. Or if not, you go to the City Board of Canvassers and check what's happening.
Okay, in terms of transmission, the timeline for transmission, how long will it take from the precinct where I voted to the...
A minute or a few minutes.
Just a few minutes?
Yeah, kasi that's just data. You just use the...
Okay.
If you use the GPRS facility of the telco, that's okay. But in some areas where they don't have cell site signal, they use BGAN, Broadband Global Area Access Network something. So use satellite transmission. So they're using about 6,000 BGANs. So those are the areas that are far flung.
Okay.
So,
so during this transmission time, let's say that's through the night.
yes.
So by Tuesday morning, what can we expect?
By about 4, if you use 2010 as a reference, you should have about 89% of all the votes nationwide by 4 or 5 a.m.
All right.
So
And
when
that's
you wake up,
yeah.
you'll already know.
We already have our new officials.
Yes, unofficially,
Unofficial.
because you
Unofficial
still have
officials.
you still have to wait for the official tabulation of the votes for the municipal, city, then provincial, then national board of canvassers.
Okay, when does that happen?
All board of canvassers except for the national board of canvassers for president and vice president, all boards convene on May 9.
May 9.
May 9, they convene at 3 in the afternoon. The National Board of Canvassers here in Manila, for the Senate and party list, they have to convene at 5 in the afternoon. They're just going to convene, then they're going to suspend the proceedings while waiting for the results. Normally, for example, I was a provincial supervisor before. I would convene, then I would suspend. I would not recess. I would not stop. I would not end the session, because if I do that, I have to do all the formalities again. So I suspend lang, take a suspend. Then for these elections, by 5 o'clock, I would say they would reconvene.
Yes.
Or they would continue with their session, not reconvene, but continue their session because they suspended lang. Then after which, they wait for the data transmission to arrive. Normally for a small city or municipality, that's just an hour or two. The bigger ones take a few hours. Unlike before, where it takes days or weeks to canvass. Now, overnight, you already know. If you won, start celebrating. If you've lost, start
commiserating.
Or start preparing for the next elections. It's just 3 years after.
So by Tuesday at 5 p.m. Well, you're saying that they're convening on Monday at 5 p.m.
5 p.m.
When the polls close.
When the polls
technically close.
But the municipal, city, and provincial board of canvassers convene at 3 o'clock yata eh. So
earlier than closure.
Yes, because they make formalities yan eh. The formalities is in which the councils for the different parties have to enter their appearance, they have to make the proper manifestations, they have to do the initialization of the CCS.
CCS stands for?
Counting and Consolidation, Canvassing and Consolidation System.
Okay.
So basically, that's the software that's used by the Board of Canvassers, which, by the way, has a hash code also. So the hash code...
Unique to it.
Unique to everyone. So there's only one hash code for all CCS all over the Philippines.
Okay.
And they have to verify that.
Okay. So Tuesday morning, 5 o'clock in the morning.
Yep.
And when does the unofficial become official?
When the different provincial board of canvassers transmits their results to the National Board of Canvassers, they also have to bring the CD, and that COC, Certificate of Canvass Votes, is canvassed by the National Board of Canvassers.
Okay, and when is that in terms of days?
A few days.
So
Siguro,
we start and end our elections on Monday. When will it get to those provincial boards of canvass?
They're trying to do 3 days, but I'm not so sure that can be done. They made a commissioner yata made a statement that they're not going to do partial proclamation, so they're going to proclaim all 12
at the same time,
which is the right thing to do. For me, that's the right thing to do. We think we did that in 2010. You proclaim.
So there's no speculation and there's no horse trading.
You don't need to do a partial proclamation. People know the results. Why rush it?
Yes.
Speed is not the most important aspect of elections. Accuracy, credibility comes first.
Okay. All right. And in the canvassing, are there loopholes there? Are there difficulties that can be
make sure you check the
anticipated?
Hash code. Make sure you have, because we've been pushing people to check the hash code of the VCM, the counting machine. But people don't check the hash code. They hardly check the hash code of the VCM. And for sure, they don't even think of checking the hash code of the software for the canvassing, which is more important because it's not anymore retail, it's wholesale. It's one whole city, one whole province, one whole municipality.
Okay, but the ordinary voter, does he care about that?
Nope. He doesn't, because he is not aware. He doesn't.
What should, I mean, tell us, is there something important there that we should be caring about?
That's where your watchers and your councils come in. That's why they should be aware of what to look out for. Yeah. If they see that if the hash code for the CCS is not correct, then they ask that proceedings be suspended while this is being resolved.
Okay. And why would it not be correct?
Because somebody is using a fake software.
How do you use a fake software? Doesn't the installation of the original software guarantee that it cannot be tampered?
Because if you use if all things considered, if you use the software that was authorized, everything should be in order.
Okay.
But if somebody maliciously, even the board might not know that, somebody just puts deletes the software and puts another one.
So
theoretically,
it will take a hacker to do that?
No naman.
Not necessarily?
No, not necessarily, because the system is not online naman. So what happens is that you can just replace the software.
Easily?
It's not that easy, but it's installing
It
a
can
software.
be done.
Yeah. So that's why you have to check the hash code.
Has it been done?
To my knowledge, kasi I can speak only for 2010. 2010 wala.
Okay.
And I can speak only for 2010 because I was not anymore with Comelec in 2013.
2013.
I was happily retired. so more than the possibility of the system using a fake software,
Yeah.
what's important is that people are aware of what to look out for and what to focus their attention on. By doing that, you're making the voters and the electorate involved in the process. By being involved in the process, they have a bigger role. Because if you're involved in something, you're more there's more participation, there's more view. You're investing in democracy. Kasi instead of, like, for example,
But you know, as an ordinary voter, I can't go to the National Board of Canvassers. I can't.
that's where the lawyers come in. That's where the lawyers come in.
Okay.
That's why you have lawyers for councils for parties or
Yes,
presidential
yes.
candidates.
So as an ordinary voter, my function really ends after I leave the precinct.
Well, if you hear something or if your problems that are brought to your attention, bring it to Comelec. You can go to social media. You can go to the media to complain, but you have to bring it to the attention of Comelec so Comelec can do something. At this point in time, there's so much misinformation just floating around.
Okay. As you know, okay. Why don't you give me 3 pieces of misinformation floating around that must be corrected?
Okay, I saw one that there's this voter, I saw it lang, that she complained that her vote was misread. But when they checked, she was supposedly not a registered voter. So
How did she vote in the first place?
exactly, so it's misinformation. There's one in Cebu where the voter said that the ballot did not read her ballot accurately, but when we asked the field official the true story, she said that never happened, and they have the minutes to prove that it didn't happen. But there was at least one incident where the ballot was misread,
Okay.
and that is being addressed as we speak.
All right.
So if you don't bring it up to Comelec, they can't fix the problem.
All right.
Be
So-
part of the solution.
And being part of the solution means taking note of your ballot number.
Yes.
That's a critical point.
Oh yes.
All right. Okay. Good luck to all of us.
Good luck to all of us.
For
Don't forget
Monday.
to vote on Monday.
Yes.
If you're voting during lunchtime, bring an umbrella, bring water.
Bring water. Good advice. Thank you very much. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you
And
for
good
having me
luck
here.
for Monday.
Yes, good luck to everyone.
Yeah, I know. That's really something.